Hello, everyone. It's Jenny from the channel The Story Ain't Over, and I'm here with the lovely Ishi from Ishi Time. I was like pointing the wrong way because my camera slipped. And we are here for the live show for the Read in Color book club for our April book of the month, which was, and I have the book here. I'm gonna grab it. Empire of Sand by Tasha Suri. I am so excited to talk about this book because I feel like it's been on my TBR for a very long time and a lot of your TBRs for a very long time. I know a lot of you were excited when I announced this, so I just can't wait to talk about it. But before we get into the discussion, I want to see who's read the book or who hasn't, finished it. So leave a heart emoji if you have read the book and finished it, and leave a smiley emoji if you haven't finished it. Those of you who have been at these live shows a bunch of times before, you know the drill, so go ahead and do that. And I'm going to pass it to Ishi to tell us a little bit about Empire of Sand and what it's about.
Okay, so if you don't know what Empire of Sand is about, I'll give a little spoiler-free summary. And I'm really sorry if I say all the names wrong. I don't know how you have
You're
been
fine.
pronouncing them, but our main character, I've been calling her Mare. That's how I pronounced it. And she basically has magic in her blood, and all the people with magic, this type of magic, are kind of condemned and sought after by the emperor. And because of this, she's kind of becomes part of this whole plot of sorts, put up by the emperor and the Maha, to kind of take advantage of her powers. She's trying to I'm trying to decide what counts as a spoiler and what doesn't.
No, you're
But
doing great.
yeah, so she basically has to kind of navigate her way through all these plans that all these different people have for her, and it kind of feels like her fate is taken out of her hands, and she decides how to move forward and all the new things happening. So I hope that's
Yeah,
kind of
that was a
explains
really good
the
description. I feel like this book is really, really hard to describe, so you did a good job because it's like a lot of vague fantasy things that go
I know.
on, and like 10,000 things could be a spoiler. So I feel your
Mhm.
pain, which is why I always make the co-host do the describing of the book because I hate doing it. But that's awesome. Thank you for that. And I see that a lot of you have read the book. Lovely seeing all of your hearts. And thank you all for being here too. Hello and hello. Okay, awesome. So usually I start these lives off with getting everyone's sort of general opinions about the book because I think that's a great place to start. So, Ishi, do you want to start with your thoughts or do you want me to go first?
Sure, I can start, and
Yeah,
then pitch in later if something else comes up.
yeah,
But I actually, this was not what I was expecting at all, because even though it's fantasy, I feel like it's very different from the normal type of fantasy that I usually read. So I found it really interesting, and I actually really liked it too. The main character, I like. The initial setting was kind of surprising to me, based on the overall summary and just my expectations. I wasn't expecting it to be that much of a court type setting. So it was kind of caught my attention right away. And moving on, when we get more into the spoilers, I can talk more, but I have some opinions about that. But overall, I really did like it.
nice. That's awesome. Yeah, I feel like I felt a lot of the same. I kind of went into this one a little warily because some of you might remember I actually read another book by this author, which was The Jasmine Throne, earlier this year, I think in like February. And I liked that book, but I didn't love it. I felt like the pacing was really off and it took a while to get into the story. But like by the end, it was a great story. I just wish it had gotten to that place faster. So this one, I started off and I was like, this is kind of slow. I need to like get into this more. But once it sort of picked up, it was fantastic. And I think I actually enjoyed it like a lot more than the Jasmine Throne.
Mhm.
I think it was paced a lot better and like the romance was done a little bit better as well. Or at least it was like it progressed a little bit more. Like it was paced better, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Mhm.
And overall I really, really liked it. Like I loved the fantasy elements and I loved the fight that the main characters going through.
Mhm.
And overall it was a cool
Mhm.
read. And I also really liked the villains in this story.
Really?
Which was interesting.
Huh.
In the sense that like I like them as villains. I don't like
Yeah.
them, but I
Yeah.
like them as villains.
Okay. I actually thought
But we can discuss that. Yeah.
no, I actually thought the pacing was a bit off to me in this one, but maybe,
Mhm.
like, I don't know. I thought it was, like, a bit fast in the beginning, like, really slow in the middle, and then, like, fast at the end.
Oh, I
So
can
that's
definitely see that,
I don't
yeah.
know.
I feel like
Yeah.
in my mind, I was comparing it to the Jasmine Throne, which was like way worse
Okay.
pacing. Because it's like basically, I want to say 250 pages of like not much happening, and then like
Mhm,
everything happens in the last 200 pages,
mhm,
which was a little frustrating. But this one, I can see what you mean. Like it was fast and then slow and then fast.
mhm.
But it still felt a little bit better than the Jasmine Throne pacing, at least for me.
Hmm.
Let's see what some of you thought over here. Oh, someone just finished it just in time. Same here for both of
Same
us.
here. Literally 10
Yeah,
minutes before the show, I was like,
yeah. I literally finished it on audiobook this morning, or not even this morning, at like 12:30 Eastern time. So not very much earlier than this live show, and it was a struggle. Okay, let's see. I literally finished this book this morning and had no idea about this live show, and it was recommended to me on my feed. Yay! I'm glad you're here, and I'm glad that you finished the book. That's awesome.
the
Okay, I'm
algorithm
gonna
knows
wait.
what's up.
Yeah, it's a common theme for us, it seems. Okay, I'm gonna wait for more people's thoughts to roll in, but I guess let's start off by maybe rating the book since we give our general thoughts. What would you rate this book?
I think I would go for, like a 3.5 or a 4. I
Mhm.
haven't quite
Okay.
decided. I feel like I need a couple days to really, like, stew in
Yeah.
all my thoughts.
Yeah, I feel that. I think for me, I would probably do something similar. I think it's
Mhm,
more closer to a 4 for me, I want to say, because I really actually like the romance.
mhm,
And I like the trope that they're forced into
mhm,
in the book. And I feel like their relationship progressed really nicely as well. So like the romance was a big
mhm,
part for me. But I do think it fell short
hmm.
in some aspects, but I think overall like a 3.54 would probably be
Yeah,
it.
I really did like the romance. I thought based on the situation that they found themselves in, like, the way it
Hmm.
all progressed was, like, it made sense and it was good.
Yeah.
So I really did like that, and, I don't know about the trope. I'm not a huge fan of the trope, and I think that's kind of, like, influencing my opinion a little bit,
Hmm.
but just the way it was handled, I really liked that. And
No, yeah, that I
honestly, with
completely
the
feel that.
villain, I think was really well written because
Mhm,
sometimes you like villains
mhm.
because just, but, like, sometimes you just kind of like, the villains make your blood boil, and every
Yeah.
time I read about I was just like steam was coming out my ears. Like, I think it was, like, really, like, well-written villain.
Oh, yeah, I 100% agree. I apologize if I'm, like, jumping in and out. I feel like my internet is a little bit slow, but we're gonna make it work. Okay, I'm gonna go through some of the comments here. Okay. Katie Nat says, I was invested in Mare's character from the beginning, her relationship with Ara. Oh, yeah, that was really sweet. The relationship with her sister, which funnily enough, I knew that the second book in the series was a companion novel, but I did not know it follows her younger sister
Oh,
Arwa
no
in
way.
this book. Yeah, so Realm of Ash is the next one, and we'll talk about the
You
sequel
know,
in a sec
I
or
just
later on.
have this feeling that she becomes a bit of um, like an anti-hero of sorts, because she's
Mm,
just so sweet and little in this one, like, I wouldn't be surprised if she just kind of, like, does a
yeah.
180.
Oh no, I definitely feel it. And actually, I read the description of the second book like right before this, and it
Mhm.
seems like you might be right. Like I
Oh,
feel like she's going through some stuff at the
yeah.
beginning. But who knows? Maybe she'll still be sweet at heart, but we'll see.
Oh, I didn't know it was
Um,
a companion novel. That's
yeah, it's a
interesting.
companion novel. Um, yeah, because I remember someone like recommending Empire of Sand as like a standalone fantasy, technically.
Oh,
And then the sequel follows her sister. Um, Shauna says, I really liked it and I'll be reading the sequel this month. Yay! Yeah, I think I'll definitely pick up the sequel soon because I don't want really, I find that if I pick up sequels too late, then I start to forget what happens in the first
huh.
one. So definitely gonna get to it soon. Taj says 4.5 or 4, lots of fours, got a 5, 3.5, and a 4. Very nice. Book Lover 9482 says, I really enjoyed it, but I couldn't really connect to the characters, and it was hard to get into at the beginning. I can see that. I had trouble getting into it for sure, and I think it took like quite a few chapters before I was like really invested.
Mm.
And we can get into spoilers at this point. I personally got into it when they brought up the whole marriage seal thing, and her dad was like, "Okay, you gotta get married,
Mhm.
like you gotta leave." Like that's when I was invested because I was like, "Okay, now we have stakes. Now
Okay, I
something's
was actually shocked because that was one part of the plot I was not expecting at all.
happening." Oh,
Like,
really?
"What do you mean you gotta marry? Like, what do you mean?" So reading that and I was shocked. I was like, "This can't be happening."
Oh my God, I love that. I think I was surprised, but I wasn't
Mhm.
like that surprised. Because I
Really?
didn't actually know too much about the plot of this one. So
Mhm.
I thought it would be like I knew it was a fantasy and I knew it involved like her having some kind of magical powers. But
Mhm.
yeah, the marriage plot was like not something I was expecting, but I enjoyed it because I love a good marriage plot.
You know, the one thing
Yeah.
I didn't like about the beginning of this book
Hmm.
was the whole stepmother who hates me trope. It's
Yes.
I don't know, it really, like, grinds my gears, like, I just wanna see one nice
Hmm.
stepmother. Like, that's just what I
Oh
want.
no, I feel that. Yeah, and it was interesting. I was when she was introduced as like the stepmother, I thought she would get some sort of redemption arc by the end. But
Mhm,
honestly, a lot of the characters who show up in the beginning, like Mariam and Arwa, like they're just gone by the end.
mhm,
Like we don't get a full resolution with them. And I feel
mhm,
like that'll be sort of wrapped up in the second one. Like we might get more about this stepmother. But yeah, I just wanted more from all of that. Like I feel like the beginning and then like the middle and end were very felt very separate, if
mhm.
that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, I wouuld have liked if so, like, the beginning had, like, a lot of, like, court politics vibe,
Hmm.
and I really like that, like, I love when
Yeah.
fantasy books have, like, court politics and all these things.
Hmm.
And all this like backstabbing and all this thing. And I was actually really enjoying that. And I kind of wish that there was more of that at the temple too. But
Hmm.
yeah.
No, yeah, I feel that too. I think the book starts off like promising one thing and then it very quickly like turns into something else.
Mhm,
And I also remember this book being sort of marketed as a Mughal India inspired fantasy, which
mhm,
like if you guys know the history, the Mughal Empire, like there's a lot of court intrigue like
mhm.
involved with that.
Yeah.
And a lot of the stories that like we've seen inspired by them
Mhm,
often involve a lot of court intrigue, but this one took
mhm.
like a sharp
And also like
detour turn.
battle too, I think, like fighting.
Yeah. Yes.
Mhm,
Yeah, for sure. And like conquering and all of that.
mhm,
So I did actually expect like more of a war aspect to this book, like a lot of fantasies have, but it took a different turn. But it kind of made sense to me because it's a standalone technically, so they couldn't like
yeah, there's
do
not much you
much.
could do in like a
Yeah.
standalone.
Yeah, exactly. But I did think it was cool. And actually, I'll get to this later, but I did want to talk about any sort of books that remind us of Emperor of Sand because while I was reading this, I felt like it parts of it felt like similar or like reminded me of the Ember and the Ashes
Oh,
series by
I thought
Seventeen
so
Years.
too.
Yeah, okay. I feel like the dialogue part like really
Mhm,
reminded me of Ember and the Ashes, especially because
mhm,
we get the creatures that come in Ember and the Ashes, like in the later books and like all of the,
mhm,
desert traveling and everything.
mhm.
And also all of the villains sort of reminded me of Ember and the
Yeah,
Ashes.
I only read the first 2 books in that series,
Hmm.
so I don't know about any later books, but
Mm,
I got the vibe.
okay, yeah. I feel like if you've read the third and fourth book, you'll see even more vibes that are kind of similar. So it was nice, actually. It was like unexpected, but I liked that they were kind of similar. I'm gonna go through a couple more comments here. Katie prefers slower paced, character driven stories, so it's ideal for me. Yeah, I do like that it was more character driven,
Mhm.
and less of like the plot.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that made it more of a compelling read. Like it was easier to get through for me. Because I feel like Jasmine Thorne is more focused on the plot, and so it's harder to connect to the characters, and it felt slower for me at least. Um, I did a blended read of the ebook and audio, and I think that helped me get through some of the pacing issues. But I love interesting family dynamics and love the progression of the romance as well. Yeah, for sure. I did a mix of the audio and ebook as well. I was reading on ebook, and then I got halfway through, and I was like, I'm not going to finish this in time for the live show. So I started listening to the audiobook on like 3 speed, and that helped.
I
but it was
couldn't
still like
find the
so adorable.
audiobook.
Yeah, unfortunately, I had to buy it on Audible, but
Oh.
yeah, here we are. I gave it 4 stars. Struggled to settle on a rating. Totally makes sense. So excited for Ramabash. Yeah. What about you, Ishi? Do you think you'll pick up the sequel soon, or do you think you'll wait a bit?
Um, I don't know. I'm not the type of person who picks up sequels right away
Mm,
unless I like
okay.
super, super love the book. So like maybe in a
Yeah.
month or so.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
I feel that.
really kind of depends.
Hmm. Shauna says they struggled at the beginning, but the audiobook helped for sure. A lot of pacing issues and the descriptions were repetitive. Oh, yes, I did want to talk about that because that's a similar thing that happens in The Jasmine Throne. I feel like this author has a tendency to do repetitive descriptions, or it'll be like someone's thoughts and like they'll say it one way and then they'll say it another way.
Mhm.
But it was still like a good book overall. I agree with that. It just got like slightly annoying when I was trying to get through it quickly, I guess. But that's just more of a me problem. Yeah. Um, let's see. I wish we got more court politics because that was the most interesting to me. But when it shifted to the desert and the mystics arc, it kind of took me out of the story a little bit. Oh, interesting.
I
I feel
kind
like
of agree with that a little bit. I found the
mhm,
same. I actually like the desert and mystic and all that
mhm,
travel plot because I like love when there's travel and like getting
mm.
to know your traveling companions. Like that's like
Yeah.
I really like that. But when they got to the temple, that's kind of when
Mhm,
it started to get like actually I really liked when they got to the temple and first we meet the Maha and like meet all these other people. Like that was interesting.
yeah.
But for me, I felt like they stayed at the temple for just like too long a while and
Mm.
practicing that right. Like it seemed they did that for like 100 pages. I was like, man, like get through it.
Oh, that's so interesting. I feel like, I okay, I totally get what both of you are saying, and I feel that as well. I think maybe it was the way I was reading it, but I read the first half slower than I read the second half.
Okay.
So the second
Huh.
half like went by quicker for me. And for me personally, like I like the court politics, but I felt like nothing was really happening at the beginning, and I liked it. And I'm
Mhm.
actually not, I don't really like travel all that much, unless there's like something
Huh.
significantly happening. But I was like, oh, you're just like slogging through the desert and you can't walk, and oh, tragic. But when they got to the temple, I found that more interesting, and like when they met the Maha and everything, and I mean, yeah, them practicing the right was like incredibly, like it got tiring after a little bit, but I like the little politics or like sort of tensions between the different characters at the
Mhm.
temple, so like Colony and like Hema and like all these little side plots that were going
Mhm.
on
Oh
that
yeah, I did
added
like
to the
that
ending.
too.
Yeah, like
Oh man,
I found that.
I did not like Kalani at all.
Oh yeah, she was another like mean girl character, but I
I
liked
know.
what she did at the end. If we want to
Yeah.
talk about the ending at all, I'm gonna get one more comment and then we'll talk about the ending. Um, so this person says I reread An Ember in the Ashes right after Empire of Sand, and I can definitely agree on that, especially with the villains. Oh yay, okay, I'm glad that we agree on that. So the ending, I'm gonna put up a banner to get people to talk about the ending. So what did we think of the ending, Issy?
You go ahead first.
Okay. So, I really like the whole ending arc, like the whole third
Mhm.
act, like when we, um, you know, when what's his name, Amun, he like tells Mare to like run away, and like he
Mhm.
breaks her bond with the Maha and everything, and then the whole part where she comes back to sort of save him, and then is trying to make this deal with the Maha and like tries to bargain with him. I was like, this is great, like I love that you're doing this. But what threw me for a loop was Colony killing the Maha at the end and slicing his throat, because I was like, yes, power move. And also like you turn this character who like we all hate into
Mhm.
someone that like does something cool at the end. Like she's obviously driven by her grief for her sister,
Mhm.
and Hema dying and everything, and also the whole plot point or twist about Hema getting killed by
Mhm.
the Maha. That was crazy to me, but I just loved that like at the end of it, it wasn't like Mare, dramatically overcoming the Maha. It was just he got simply killed because he was an asshole. and
Mhm,
even one of his followers like couldn't continue with that, couldn't deal with that.
mhm,
So I like that that was the way he ended. But
mhm.
yeah, that's what I
I
loved.
just have
And
so many,
then
like sorry, what did you
no,
say
no, go
by the
ahead.
end? Okay, I
Oh no, I
just,
was
like,
just gonna
felt like
say
I talked over your last couple words.
no, 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 it's okay. I was just gonna say, and I also liked that like the ending of the story was just about finding balance.
Mhm,
And that Mare has to perform the rite again, and she's tasked with continuously performing this rite so that she can keep the balance between the Diva and like the mortals and stuff, and that
mhm,
the Empire is sort of crumbling at the end. Like I feel like it made for a nice standalone, but it also gives the opportunity for like more stories, which is why she has a
mhm.
companion. But yeah, I like that it was about restoring balance. Okay, now I'm
I
done.
Okay, yeah, I have so many mixed feelings about,
Hmm.
Colony because in the beginning when she's basically in that when they're, like, having that first meeting about getting married and
Hmm.
stuff like that,
Yeah.
and she's basically just, like, kind of taking over that, like, doesn't even let them talk, and I was, like,
Yeah.
already so bitter, and she was so mean to her throughout the whole thing.
Mhm.
And even there was that one scene where she's like, "Stay away from my sister," and I'm
Yeah.
like, "Okay, like, I get that." And and even though, like, I kind of like that it wasn't like you said, I kind of like that it wasn't, Mare magically getting over her, like,
Mhm.
fear of the Maha because, like, that would have been, like, a bit too much of a fast development, I think, and, like, the
Yeah.
amount of time we had. Um,
Mhm.
but I didn't like that she kind of or Amun had her run away without him when the
Mm.
whole point of the thing was that they were gonna escape together, so I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
"Aw, come on, like, just escape together."
Yeah.
So, yeah, she was like she ran away and she, like all these things, so I wasn't, like, the biggest fan, and then, like,
Mhm.
after that, it became a bit predictable because, like, of course she'd come back to rescue him, like, what
Mhm.
else would you
Yeah,
expect, right? So,
yeah.
it's like, yeah, like, now she's back, like, I get it.
No, yeah, that makes sense. It's definitely a really predictable, and it definitely falls into like that romance trope of just like, creating problems where there isn't problems and then separating
Mhm.
and then coming back together.
Yeah.
Which is kind of what happens also at the very, very end when like Mare's like, "Oh, you don't need to stay with me. I don't want to keep you here. I don't want to bind you to me." And it's like, "Okay, but like he obviously is in love with you. Like calm down. Let him stay." Yeah, so that annoyed me for sure. And I did get frustrated with him when he was like, "Hey, run away," but I was like, "Oh, romantic sacrifice, whatever, whatever." Especially because he had been sticking to his guns about how like, they won't be able to escape and
Mhm.
everything, and they had given up at that point.
Mhm.
So I appreciated him like making that small or like that
Mhm.
extra step at the end and letting her escape. But I totally see your point as well. I'm gonna look at some of the comments here. Do 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 do. Okay, I felt like the train sequences was what made the middle part slow for me, and then once we had to change of scenery going back to the desert, I felt like things were happening again. Oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, the training
Like
was just too much going on.
I know, and I feel like it was the same thing over and over again. Like it
Mhm.
wasn't like a change. Like how there's some training sequences in books where like they're going through like different types of training, so
Mhm.
it's slightly more interesting. Like the physical and then the
Mhm.
spiritual or like whatever. Like I find that kind of
Mhm.
fun, but yeah, I definitely see that.
Yeah, I also, like
Hmm.
sorry, just about the last
No, go.
comment still, when, like, in other books when they're, like, training and they, like, fight the bad guy and, like, lose really badly and then
Oh
train
yeah.
some more, like, I would have liked if they had a bit more of, like instead of just, like, training and then
Hmm.
battle, if they had, like, a bit more of, like, loss in the middle as
Okay, yeah, yeah. No,
as
that makes sense.
like, not that I want them to suffer, but just a tiny bit.
Yeah, actually, that kind of makes sense because like even the loss that they have in the middle of the book is just like the Maha, threatening to cut off her finger or something, and like
Yeah.
that's about it. So there's like no real like
Mhm.
major consequence in like the middle
Mhm.
part of the book that drives him to work harder.
Mhm.
So yeah, I definitely feel that. I
Yeah,
feel
and
like it
even
only started to get exciting when like he forces them to go sleep with each other.
yeah,
Um,
and even, like, the whole stakes being, like, ruin of the empire and, like, wrath of the gods and all that,
mhm.
like, it didn't seem as well portrayed that much. I don't know, did you think that it
Oh.
was?
That's a good point, actually, and I didn't really think about that until now. but you make
Like,
a
there
good
was
point
no
because
point where I was like, no point where I thought that the gods would, like, rain their
yeah,
wrath down or anything of the sort.
that's actually yeah, that's a good point because like yeah, they're not very strong and they're kind of subdued the entire time and it's really just the Maha being an asshole, but there's no real um threat that seems like tangible that the world will be destroyed if they don't do this right. Like I feel like there's like some monsters attacking them or like, you know, some
Mhm,
scourge about the planet or like a plague or something, like it would have seemed more real.
mhm.
But I get what you're saying, yeah. Um, let's see. Katie did not like the ending and didn't feel her reasoning was well explained. Okay, I can see that. I feel like endings are can be hit or miss for some people all the
Mhm.
time, so I can see that. I like the return to balance and the eternal. Oh yeah, the eternal elder, I think, or elder mother, something like that. Was and just not the betrayal because it did not make sense to me. I see. Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, the eternal or elder mother or whoever that Diva was, that appears at the end, that was really cool to me. And like the returning to balance and like how she's giving Meryl this advice and stuff, and asking her to like uphold the rights so that the balance can be restored.
Mhm.
That was cool to me. But I can
I
see how
yeah,
the betrayal might not make sense.
yeah. I would have
Sorry, go
liked
ahead.
if, like, the eternal elder or whatever, like, if she was kind of foreshadowed throughout the book instead of just kind of, like,
Yeah.
showing up at the end.
Yeah, I agree. I think she shows up like once before in Mare's dream, but that's still like close to the end. And I,
Mhm,
yeah, it would have made more sense if she was like showing up in her dreams like throughout the book or, you know, whispering to her or something. I feel like that would have been a little bit more interesting as well. At first I wasn't sure how I felt about the Maha dying because he was a great villain and I knew there was a sequel, but knowing this is written more like a standalone, now I enjoy the ending a bit more. Yeah, that makes sense. I feel like if he died and I knew there was a second book, I'd be like, but I would assume that there's like some bigger villain, I guess. That makes sense. Like, you know how some series like you kill one villain, but then you find out that there's like an even bigger villain
mhm,
behind that. But I feel like he was the big bad. Like there wasn't anything foreshadowed for bigger. I feel like the second book is going to be more of the court intrigue we were looking for, or potentially like more
mhm.
of like the war and politics. I think based on the description, but I might be wrong. Um, I had no idea book two was going to be a companion, and then I got to the ending, and I was like, "Oh, this feels like a full-on ending." I wondered if book two was going to be about Arwa, and I was right. Yeah, I had a feeling it was going to be about Arwa. Like I didn't know it was about her before this, and then I was like, because they mention at the end of this book that I think her father's no longer the governor, and that he's left um, their home, and so obviously, you know, something must be going on with her stepmother and her sister as well. So yeah, and then if you go read the description of the second book, you'll find out that some things have happened, and I won't spoil it because I feel like you can just go into the second book also without like reading the description if you wanted to. So, yeah. Okay, what's this next one? Mare and Amon's decision or discussion of choice at the end was so romantic to me because choice was a huge part of my husband and I's vows when we got married in October. Oh, that's so cute.
Oh,
Congrats.
congrats.
Um, yeah, that's so awesome. And I totally agree because I feel like a lot of their relationship was like so built on like not having any choice in the matter,
Mhm,
and really being forced into things. And so they're at the end like choosing to be with each other, which I loved. Yeah, it was such a like poetic sort of
mhm,
coming together. And I loved some of the lines towards the
mhm.
end. Like some of the ones that Amin pulls out, I was like, damn, going for my heart
I
here.
honestly, Amin was like I loved him throughout the book, actually, like,
Yeah, yeah. He was
he was just so
awesome.
sweet.
Yeah, and he's also like that typical sort of like brooding, dark,
Mhm,
mysterious
mhm.
male love interest who's like, you know, secretly a huge softie on the inside and, you know, cares a lot and is like having this stoic upper lip. And actually on the note of that, I usually ask everyone what their favorite character is. So who is everyone's favorite character? Like if you had to choose one or two, who would you be your favorite character?
Oh, man, I would probably say Amin.
Yeah, yeah. He's a keeper. I think he is probably my favorite, and also,
I also
uh,
really liked Hema,
mm,
actually.
oh my God. Okay, so funnily enough, I did not like Hema.
Really?
I don't know what it was about her. I think it was like that one scene where she's like, um, talking about Amin as if, how he's a monster, whatever,
Mhm,
whatever. He's Amrithi, and like she's
mhm,
talking about Amrithi as like they're, horrible like monsters, whatever else. Um,
mhm.
and then Mare's like, I'm like half Amrithi, right? Like I'm not just Amin blood. And then
Oh, yeah,
Amin's
and
like,
she's like, "Well, you don't really count." Yeah,
yeah,
that
she's
was
like,
a
you
bit
don't really
sketch.
count, and like, I don't care, whatever. And then it was like the strange, like, I don't know. I felt like if that like happened in real life, it's like, oh, you're half this, like, oh, that doesn't count, I
Yeah.
feel like,
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
that was a bit sketch.
yeah,
I didn't like her in, like, the favorite character sense, but I liked her in,
mm,
like, a well-written character sense.
mm,
I like, she's kind of like the product of her environment, I thought, and that was really
yeah,
well portrayed, right? Like, how
yeah,
much she kind of loved the Maha and, like, was so blind to all his flaws and all these things,
hmm,
and she was, like, an interesting character, and,
yeah.
like, I liked her much better than Kalani.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, for sure. Kalani's a piece of work. I think I
Yeah.
like her in the sense of I like her as a um useful tool in this story. You know? Like you served a good purpose by the end. Like I'm okay with you now.
Mhm.
Um yeah, I think I also really liked, strangely enough, the Maha as like a villain. I think he was a good villain and he was an interesting one as well. I wish we got like a little bit more about his backstory though, because they sort of
Mhm.
briefly mention it, but I wish we got like a little bit more. Like
Mhm.
this is where I feel like this book is slightly similar to Ember in the Ashes because one of the villains in Ember in the Ashes, which you probably haven't met yet, but they come up in the later books. We get some
Mhm.
more backstory about them, which adds to like the entire story and also their character arc. So I would have liked to sort of get some more information about how the Maha became the Maha and like
Mhm.
in this position. But yeah, I still thought it was cool and interesting. Um, let's see if anyone else. Okay, we're still waiting for some answers to come in, but I'll go through some of the other thoughts on the ending. Oh, Aubrey says, I really enjoyed this book. Thank you for making this the book club pick for April. You're welcome. I'm so glad that a lot of you actually really enjoyed this one. Because I went into it like not being sure, but I'm glad it worked out. Because you never know. I'm like, especially for the book club picks that I picked that I haven't read before. I'm like, oh no, like I could be subjecting like a whole ton of people to just a month of pain. But it's all good.
I'm sorry if you can hear
Um,
my dog barking, by the
oh
way.
no, it's okay. I heard it like briefly, but I love dogs, so it's okay. Daniel says the stakes weren't high enough, and I felt more twists could have happened. For example, the characters have more to lose. Yeah, I
Yeah,
agree, and I think we talked about this
yeah, I
for the
agree.
middle as well.
Mhm.
Yeah, if they had something more to lose in like the middle, it would have been a little bit more interesting. Um, I love the romance in this. It was great seeing Amin come out of his shell, and you could see how much he cared. He's my favorite character. Oh, Lelita, yeah,
Oh,
she was
yes, I
great
really liked her
too.
too.
Yeah, I forgot about her. I wish we got like a little bit more of her because I know she's there at the beginning and then she comes back at the end.
Mhm.
But she was a great character and she's so lovely, I think. Um, and also like the way that Mare like sees her as like a mother figure because she didn't have her mother with her for so much of her life. And she sort of talks about that at the end of the book too, like how Lalita was more of a mother to her.
Mhm. Wait,
Which I
doesn't her
thought was
mother
yeah.
come back at the end?
She
Or did I,
does,
like,
yeah.
imagine that?
She does come back, yeah, and I thought that was interesting. I feel like so okay, did anyone else have this theory? Because I was nursing this theory for the entire book and then it turned out to be wrong. But you know how Amun kept saying that he was trained
Oh, there
by
yes, and it
another
did you
Amriti
think that it
woman?
was lo
And I
yes.
was like, it's her mother. I'm sure of it. It's her mother. And no, I was wrong. I was very sad about that. I was like, that would have been such a good twist. And then it's like, oh, she died or like whatever, or maybe she's alive and she comes back to help them. Like I thought that's what would happen. But then it turned out she was just like, leading this clan and whatever, which was cool too. But I just like I feel like she was there for emotional support at the end, and then that was about it. Like I wanted
Mhm.
her to have something to do with the plot, I guess. But
Yeah, I feel
yeah.
like she didn't really impact the end of the book that much.
Yeah, exactly. Like I feel like it would have been just as impactful if like Mare, finds this clan and Lalita's there and like getting reunited with Lalita was like
Mhm,
already enough of a thing. Like I don't think
mhm,
her mother added that much to it.
mhm.
But let me know if any of you disagree in the comments. Um Okay, they really liked Aman and Lalita. I feel like I really felt like Lalita was the mother. Mare didn't have when her mom left. Yeah, agreed. Mare was my favorite character. Loved the Maha as a villain. Appreciated the complexity of the portrayal of Ruhi and her decision to leave and how Mare felt about it. Yeah, actually, I do agree with that. Ruhi is Mare's mother, for those of you who don't remember her name. But yeah, I did like how like complex the relationship was and how Mare wasn't happy completely about seeing her mother again. Like she had a lot of complicated feelings about her leaving. Um, and so it felt really realistic at least. Um, I think Amin is my favorite character. I also loved Lalita, loved a good mentor character, and the conscious of Mare's relationship with Lalita versus her mother. Yeah. So she was definitely Lalita was definitely like a foil for her mother, if
Mhm.
anything. Yeah. So I would be interested to hear more about her life because we get like snippets about the fact that she was like a courtesan in the court and everything and like had this like really nice life that she had sort of built under this cover of being a Chand woman, like not Amriti, which I found interesting. Like I feel like she could be a cool spin-off character to do
Mhm.
something with, like just like a fun, piece of the world. But yeah, she's cool. Um, let's see. I thought Amin was trained by her mother too. See, I'm not the only
It
one.
would have made so much it would have been so much
Right,
better.
right. I was like the entire time. I was like, it has to be her mother. It has to.
Mm,
And then he talks about her dying, and I'm like, okay, it can still be her mother, but then no.
mhm.
But it also, I guess, it timeline wise, it might not have made sense because
Yeah, 'cause
he,
apparently it was, like, a much older lady, I think?
yeah, that, and I think he said that he had been bound to the Maha when he was a child, and
Oh, yeah, and
oh,
her
actually, no,
mother didn't leave that I don't know.
I don't know
Feel like
when.
it could
Yeah,
have been possible with a few shifting around.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't know when she left, like R1 Mare, but yeah, I feel like if she wanted to, she could have made it happen. But oh well,
Mhm,
missed opportunities. It's okay. I would be interested though to find out who trained him because like I don't think she's ever named either. Like he never ends up talking about it,
mhm.
does he? Maybe not. Um, I wonder if Arwa will get a reunion moment with Ruhi too. Oh, true. I don't have any idea how that would happen based on where things are and what I know of book two, but I think it'd be interesting to see how she'd react to meeting Ruhi as opposed to how Mare reacted. Oh, actually, yeah, that would be interesting.
Hmm.
I don't know about you, Ishi, but what do you think? How do you think Arwa would react to meeting Ruhi?
I honestly don't know because right now she's very much, like, Miriam's daughter, quote, unquote, right? Like,
Mm,
Miriam's
yeah,
raising her to be, like, a certain way, and she doesn't know much about her Amriti background that much, right? So,
yeah,
I think she's gonna definitely react in a much different way, but I don't know in what way exactly,
yeah,
and I don't know, I just have this feeling that she's gonna become a bit of, like I don't know, she'll start to be like I think she'll start to resent Mare a little with the whole, like, "I can't believe you
mm,
left, blah, blah, blah,"
yeah,
all these things, so
yeah.
I don't think she will like Ruhi that much. I don't know.
Mm. Yeah, I see that. I see that. And I actually like what you said about her probably resenting Mare also. Um, because despite Mare, well, we do get this tidbit at the end that Mare is sending Arwa letters, but we don't know if it's reaching her.
Mhm.
And I feel like that is a crucial point because
I
maybe
feel like
Mare
it's
thinks,
not reaching her.
yeah, I feel like it's not reaching her, and that's going to be part of her sort of origin story. Because I
Mhm.
also think that the second book takes place much later, like she's going to be a lot older,
Mhm.
and she's going to have been like she has just this complicated childhood. Like her mother left, and we don't even know if she remembers her mother that well. Like it doesn't seem like she does at the beginning of the book. She's got this like kind of evil stepmother who likes her, but also has terrible values. And then her father loses his governorship, and so
Mhm.
she's sort of left adrift. And there's also some other things that the description mentions. But I feel like she's just going to be sort of left to figure out what her life
Mhm.
is, and she's going to resent Mare for leaving and not guiding her. And especially if she ends up
Be
discovering some sort of powers too. Like I feel
Yeah,
like,
like, because she can see, like, divas and stuff like that, right?
yeah,
So, I don't know, maybe she
yeah.
does have powers.
Yeah, who knows? I think they can all see them, but she might like because she was young, so maybe she shows up some powers later. Because
Mhm.
even Mare didn't know she had powers until much later.
Mhm.
Um, And yeah, I would be interested to see what she thinks of Ruhi too, if she ever showed up.
Mhm.
It'd be interesting. Yeah. But I wonder if Mare will actually show up in the second book. Because technically she's still alive, like she's still chilling in the desert, like doing the rites and stuff. So there's a high potential that Arwa
Mhm.
could pass by her and see her, or maybe Mare comes out to, help her with something. Who knows? I'd be
Yeah, and
interested.
Arwa doesn't even know about the whole temple thing, right? Like, she thinks Mare
Yeah.
is happily married off, so that's
Hmm.
another.
Oh, that's a good point, actually.
Yeah,
She could be in her head being like, my damn sister just left me alone, got married, and just,
is all
went off to do
happy
her
and
own
blah, blah,
thing.
blah, like.
Yeah, whereas here I am and everything's come apart. Yeah, I can see that. As a younger sister, I can see that very clearly. Okay, I've got one more comment that we'll discuss and then we can sort of wrap up our thoughts. Danielle says, does anyone remember in Rahima's chapter, Lalita went to the abandoned village and stayed in her house. Rahima asked for her blood, but she left a gold necklace instead of blood.
Yes, I do remember
Oh,
that, and
I
that
remember
never
that
came
too.
up again. Like, what was that about? Like, did
That
she
is
just kind of, like,
interesting.
scam her? Like, is
Yeah.
that what happened?
Maybe. Well, that's what I thought too. But then actually, when Rahima's chapter showed up, I had a theory that, how Rahima talks about how her husband sold out the Amrithi in their village,
Mhm,
and how there was a boy with powers. And I thought immediately that was probably Amun,
mhm.
as a child, and then he was taken away by the Maha. Like I thought that was the significance of Rahima's chapter. But it also didn't like make sense to me why Lalita wouldn't give her blood, like why she would just sort of leave like that. I don't know. Yeah, I would be so curious to hear if anyone has thoughts about that. I feel like maybe it's something that it's like something that she placed there for the second book, like to,
Mhm.
flesh out. Yeah, I'm interested now that you brought that up.
Yeah,
But
and Rahima was also the one. She was left alone at that village because she wanted to kind of, like, be forgiven or something, right?
yeah, 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 because she felt like the diva had like turned on her because her
Yeah.
husband had sold them out, that had sold out the Amrithi, so she felt like they were all getting punished and stuff. Um,
Mhm.
which is interesting. Maybe Rahima will show up in the next book and we'll find out. But I'm curious about this now. Because actually, when that chapter happened, I initially thought that it wasn't Lalita who showed up, but it was Mare's mother
Mhm.
who had showed up to visit Rahima. Like, I thought that Mare's mother had just been like sort of wandering maybe this entire time. And so she shows up at Rahima's house and is just looking for a shelter. But then it turned out to be Lalita, which
Mhm.
was an interesting turn. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of parts of this book where it's like, oh, this could have maybe happened. Like there's like some little mysteries that I would love to
Mhm.
uncover. Um, I think it was to show that Rahima's regret is not as big as the damage that was done to the Amrithi. Great, you feel bad, but does it actually matter? Oh yeah, that's a good point. Like it might have
Mhm.
been just a moral argument. Like, yeah,
Mhm.
sure you feel bad, but you didn't do anything good.
Mhm.
Like, yeah, I feel that. And then Katie also agrees that I thought Rahima's husband sold out on them too. I just wish we got like a whole like backstory like all in one go. Like, this is what
I know,
happened to me
yeah.
when I was a kid,
I thought
because we got
at
everything in parts. Yeah.
Yeah. I thought at first it was gonna be, like, a bit of switching point of views and switching timelines
Mm,
a little bit, especially
yeah.
after we got, like, Rahima's chapter and stuff,
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah.
just, like, never showed up again.
Yeah, and actually it's funny because so I had read Jasmine Throne and in that book there's so many perspective changes, like so many. There's so many other characters. There's also some like previous timelines that we get in flashbacks and stuff. So I thought it was interesting that that book did that where this one didn't. But I kind of like that she kept it this way because it just
Mhm,
kept the mystery alive in
mhm,
a bit of a way. I do feel like I wish we got like a little bit more of like concrete answers by the end, but maybe we'll get more of those in the next book. So it's although it's a companion, I feel like it's slightly a bit of a sequel
mhm.
still. Yeah. So we'll see. Um I think it was to show that Rahima's regret. Oh yeah, we talked about this one. Okay, awesome. I feel like we've gotten through most of, the book and our thoughts on it. How are you feeling? Issue, any
Mm.
last
I
general
know,
thoughts
you,
or
like,
specific
racked
thoughts?
my
Last thing you
brains.
wanna, talk about? Yeah, I like um annotated my ebook like throughout reading, and I
Huh.
was like marking down a bunch of parts that I thought were interesting. Mostly,
Hmm.
I was just highlighting, everything Amin said,
Huh.
every romantic thing he said. But yeah, I feel like overall, I just really liked, um, the progression of the story and like how it's very character focused.
Mhm.
And I got invested with the characters, and I think like I'd be excited to see more of them, in the next one, but also see what's up with Arwa
Mhm.
and how much how the world is going to fall apart and like how they're going to deal with the
Mhm.
aftermath of this book. I think that's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, like, I feel like Mare as a character could have been much, much better. I don't know,
Okay,
like,
I see that.
I do like her, but
Yeah.
there were parts when she just got, like, a bit too whiny.
Yes.
Like, and especially, like, sh I don't know, I feel like she could have stepped up to it sooner than she did. I
Mm,
I
yeah.
think
No,
that's
I see that. Sorry, continue.
No, I'm just trying to, like, think of some last
hmm
thoughts to throw in. I think that was one of them. Overall,
Yeah.
I did like her, though.
hmm I do think she, actually, to your point, I feel like as I was reading this book, even though it's an adult book, an adult
Mhm,
fantasy, it felt a little bit like a young adult fantasy, like a YA
mhm,
fantasy, just because of the way it was focused on like Mare's journey. And
mhm,
I felt like Mare herself was just so inexperienced and, didn't know what she was getting into.
mhm,
And, just the way that she was sometimes like whiny and couldn't, step up kind of thing, that it felt a little bit like she was a younger protagonist.
mhm.
But that might have just been me because I feel like
No, I kinda felt
most,
that too.
yeah, yeah. Like the situation obviously you probably wouldn't happen
In a
uh
YA, yeah.
in a YA just because it's a teeny bit of an older well, the whole like forced marriage thing, like veered into very
Mhm.
complicated consent territories and stuff. Um, which is why I don't think you could do it in a YA, but yeah. Oh, actually, it seems like other people thought it was YA too. I legit thought it was a YA book. I feel like if I hadn't known that it was marketed as an adult, like, and I just went into it, I might have thought it was
Mhm.
a YA. Yeah. Any other thoughts? I feel like you had another thought on the tip of your tongue.
I don't know, I'm just trying to think. I think that
hmm
was about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Mara as a character is interesting. And I'm wondering, I would be excited to see more of her in like the next book as like a little bit
Mhm,
more of a mature character and like, having her shit together and stuff. And she
mhm,
sort of reaches that point at the end, but I think this is very much a bit of a coming of age story for her.
mhm,
She's leaving this like very secluded and like protected environment and then she's going out into the world. So in
mhm.
that way it felt kind of like a YA. But
Yeah, I'm really excited to
yeah.
see if Amun's in the next book, like, if he makes any
Mhm.
appearances and how much
I
different
hope
he is
so.
from this one. 'Cause
I know.
even though he
Yeah.
does break out of his shell a bit, like, he's still very much reserved.
Yes. Yeah. I hope that like he will get to reach his like content, married husband, evolution level. Like he'll
Yeah.
just be like chilling and, making food in the desert, like for Mare as she performs her next right. Like that's what I want for him. Like I
Yeah,
just want him to have like
yeah,
nice, lovely domestic life with Mare, and I think it would be adorable to see that. Like, I just want like a small scene in the next book where we see
mhm.
him happy because he has a tough life, but yeah, he's a cutie. Alrighty. So I feel like that's most of our thoughts. Thank you guys so much for joining us today for this live show. I always love discussing the books with you guys. And it's just always a nice treat. I hope you guys will go check out the next book, Realm of Ash. I know a lot of you are looking forward to it. Support a South Asian author during Asian Heritage Month this month. And next month, and I don't have the book with me, but next month for the Reading Color Book Club, or actually this month because it's May, um, we are reading Blue Skin Gods by S.J. Sindhu, and we're going to be joined by Sagarika from Sagarific for our live show at the beginning of June. I'm really excited for that one, and I know a lot of you have already started it. It's based off of the Fable discussion, so continue leaving your thoughts there. And if you haven't joined the Fable discussion, go join it using the link in the description as well. But yeah, that's about all we have. Thank you so much, Ishi, for
Yeah.
joining me today
Yeah,
for
thank you
this
for
live
asking me
show.
to co-host this one.
Yeah. I was so excited to
It was
have
fun.
you. I feel like I found your channel like ages and ages ago. when you like first started out. I think I saw like your one of your first videos, and I was like, ah, I love her vibe.
Oh,
So I
thanks.
wanted to have you on the channel. Yeah. So yes, everyone go check out Ishi's channel. She has some really beautifully edited videos too. Like your most recent vlog, I was like, I wish I could be this aesthetic, but I'm
Oh,
not.
stop.
Yeah, but go follow her, guys. She also has a Twitter, and I think I linked her Instagram as well. So go check those out, follow her, and support her. And with that, we are done for the day. We'll see you next time, and thank you so much for joining us.
Bye.
Bye.